Shalom, back with part 3. Let's continue here. All right. So they were put down after their Greco and Roman empires. They were put down for 1,000 years. And that meant that the Moors were now ruling, right? The Byzantine Empire out of Portugal and Spain. You understand? They ruled for 1,000 years or more. Now, regardless that they're Israelites, they were worshiping, many things that they weren't supposed to be worshiping. And of course, we know that they were worshiping Islam, okay? But they were worshiping more than that, all right? So they were completely going off, okay? So anyway, it took them, the Edomites, it took them about a little over 100 years before they took down the Moors, to fully come back into power. Now that happened doing what? The Renaissance, okay? What does Renaissance mean? Rebirth. Rebirth of what? The Edomites back into the policy. This is all prophecy. We're reading about it right here. Let's continue. So the Lord bound him, put that spiritual chain upon him, all right? For 1,000 years. They were in their caves, okay? Now, so he cast them into the bottomless pit, which is Europe, into their caves, and shut them up and set that seal upon them, that spiritual seal, that spiritual chain, that he should deceive the nations no more. You see that? Hello? Does that ring a bell? Okay? Till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. So you see that? Prophecy, people. Prophecy. And after that, he must be loose a little season. Well, we're at the end of his little season now, because the Lord is taking them out of power. He's taking the Edomites out of power, right? He's going to take down, come back, break through the clouds with the angels in their chariots, and he's going to take down Esau, Edom, and his military, plus the other 16 heathen nations in their military, so he can set up his kingdom here on the earth. You understand? All right, so we're at the end of his little season now. All right. Again, there's a boundary he cannot pass, a boundary that was set by the Lord. Go read about it in Job 14:5. All right. That's why they talk about that warp speed. Okay. You understand? All right. So let's jump now to verse 7 and 8. After you read verse 1, 2, and 3, you jump to verse 7 and 8. And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan, right, talking about the dragon, right, the old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, right? So you're talking about Esau, Edom, that nation of people, all right, who ruled as in the Greco and Roman empires, right? They came back into power during the Renaissance, okay, the mid-1300s, 1350s. And by the 1450s, they were already back in the power seat, okay? And definitely, clearly in power by 1492 when Columbus arrived here, all right? Okay? And he came here with 5 Hebrew interpreters, okay? They like to leave that out of the textbook, but he came here with 5 Hebrew interpreters. Louis of Torres was mostly used. All right, and he took 1,100 of my people, the tribe of Ephraim, which you may know as Puerto Ricans, all right, which is the head tribe of the 10 Indian tribes of the Northern Kingdom, second in command under Judah, all right, because Judah is the head tribe, all right, which our Lord comes out of. You understand? Okay. They put 1,100 of my people onto their 4 Spanish ships in chains, shipping them back to Seville, Spain. Only 300 survived the trip back to Seville, Spain, but thus began the Atlantic slave trade. And again, you read about that in a book called Black Indians on page 24, written by an author, an Edomite scholar called Katz. All right? All right. So when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. To do what? Let's find out. And shall go out to deceive the nations once again. You see that? Which are in the 4 quarters of the earth. You see that? And Gog and Magog, right, which is Russia, all right, to gather them together to battle. All right. The number of whom is as the sand of the sea. That battle we're talking about, the Battle of Armageddon, World War III. You understand? Understand that Gog and Magog, Russia, is the big brother to Iran. All right. And some other nations. You understand that? So something's going to take place. It is the Lord that is mustering up these nations down in the Middle East for the Battle of Armageddon. All right. Which is the Lord's war that he's bringing upon the nations. Okay. For the controversy of Zion, for his people. You understand? Go read you all the 3rd chapter. All right. And that stuff is all over the scriptures. All right. Anyway, you people should get the idea. So let's get back. All right. Let's get back over here. All right. So I've given you some background. All right. All right. And here is the mind which have wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth on. There are mountains. The mountains are also known as nations, kingdoms. You understand, people? Get that? All right. Now, there are 7 kings. You see that? Now, don't be deceived. That word kings there is short for kingdoms. Okay? So, right there, a lot of people will have, that's a stumbling block for a lot of people. That word right there, that there are 7 kings. No, it's kingdoms. All right? And I'll show you that in a minute. All right? Now, 5 are fallen out of the 7. What are the 5? Germania Major, Germania Minor, the Greek Empire, right? Spain, and France. Those are your 5 fallen kingdoms. Now, there's 7 total, right? What else does it say? And one is, the one that is the Roman Empire. During the time that John the Revelator wrote the book of Revelations, he was in his 90s on the island of Patmos, a political prisoner to the Roman Empire. See that? So that's the one that is, okay? The Roman Empire. All right? And the other is yet come, and when he cometh, he must continue a short space. That's talking about the British Empire. There's your 7. Now, let's continue here for a moment, and now I'm going to take you back to the picture of the dragon. You know, the 7 heads and 10 horns. And the beast that was and is not, see, the parable, the beast that was and is not, which would be the Roman Empire, right? Even he is the 8th head, and is of the 7. In other words, there's an 8th head that comes out of the 7. And that 8th head is America, Babylon the Great, the whore of Babylon. You understand? How do we know that? America was started up by 13 British colonies, was she not? Yes, she was. America fought Great Britain, the British, for its independence, fought against Spain and France. Okay? America is that little horn that you read in Daniel chapter 7. You understand that, people? You get it? You see it now? All right? You understand that she is the 8th that comes out of the 7 because she comes out of Great Britain. You understand? Hello? You see that? This is why you have to understand history in order to understand the mystery. All right? It's important, people. It's important. You have to have the pieces in place. Okay? All right? So, and the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, right? He's the 8th head. There'll be no 9th. There'll be no 10th. There'll be no 11th. The buck stops here with America, Babylon the Great. And is of the 7th and goes into what? Perdition, destruction. You understand that? Let's get back to the picture. Right? Now, I'll go over it again here. Right? Right? There are 7 kings, right? Meaning kingdoms, right? What does it say up here? The 7 heads equal 7 governments or kingdoms ruled by Esau. You see that? All right? and also they're known as mountains, right? So in other words, when you see mountains, mountains is talking about government, nations, and kingdoms, you see? So it's talking about the 7 government, nations, and kingdoms ruled by Esau, right? All right, so 5 have fallen, right, out of the 7. Germania Major, you see it right there. Germania Minor, you see it right there. See the Greeks right there. And you see the Spanish and you see the French. Those are your 5 fallen kingdoms. The one that is Romans. See it? Romans, the Roman Empire, right? And the one that was to come for a short space, right? That was yet to come and must continue short space, the British Empire. See it there? So there's your 7, right? And there you see the 8th head that comes out of the British Empire. She's riding the beast system because she is the last leg and extension of this revived Roman Empire, of this Edomite beast system. And you see her holding the golden cup of abominations, the cup of dread, the cup of slavery. See that? You understand it now, people? All right? I believe you do, and I believe we can move on. All right? All right. Let's get on with it. Okay? All right. And this tale, talking about the dragon, drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven. Now, what is that talking about? Well, the earth was broken into 3 parts. Okay? The sons of God, all right, which is, the righteous line. That's, prior to, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So it's prior to, Jacob's name being changed to Israel. So this is the beginnings. We were known as the sons of God. Okay? And then you had the sons of the wicked. And then you had the sons of man, which are the other 16 heathen nations. And there you have all 18 nations. So here it's talking about the 1/3 part, talking about the wicked, the sons of the wicked. So his tail drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, and we know that the woman is Israel, which was ready to be delivered to devour her child as soon as it was born. So we know that gets into what? Right? King Herod sending out his soldiers to go kill, from 3 years old to newborns, trying to kill Yahushua, right? And he took off into North Africa, into Egypt, right? Okay? And we know that he was not an Edomite, right? Obviously, because he would have stuck out like a sore thumb, right? Going into Egypt amongst the Hamites, amongst the African tribes, right? There you go, people. All right. All right. So, next verse. Okay. And she brought forth a man-child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up onto the God power and to his throne. Right? So who are we talking about? All right? We're talking about Yahushua here. Right? Again, you know what? We'll end this here. We'll pick it up right back when we come back. We'll pick it up in part 4. We'll be right back with part 4. Shalom.